Watch!
You ever notice how sad that guy looks at the end of the intro? Just
Which
fucking
one?
like
Oh,
at the end of the intro, he's just an old boy's like bringing him some like I don't know if
yeah.
that is that beer or soup. I don't know what the fuck.
It's alcohol. I'm sure.
It's alcohol. It should
Yeah.
be alcohol.
Yeah.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's
What is
fucking
up?
Halloween. Matt
Yeah.
calls me on. Look, Matt, if you ever want me to wear a costume, you got to give me like 3 months.
I know.
Advance notice.
No,
but I
this
dig
was.
your hat.
Thank you. Well, a couple things. Number one, I'm really bad at organizing these sorts of things. Number two, I could not find a comically large hat, so I ended up with a comically small hat. But the idea was to try to look like my avatar
It
in
looks like a
some ways.
wizard hat off a Muppet.
Yeah,
Right.
honestly, it looks like a hedge wizard. Like I think there's like there we go. We got the little thing here. Like I'm some peasant who's like who's finally learned how to read, and his first book was like the Necronomicon. So, but yeah, that's my costume for today. I hope everyone's Halloween has been great up here where I live. It's 45 degrees, rainy and windy, cold and bitter, but we did get a little bit of candy out there. We were just on Barrows and Borderlands stream with Matthew Tapp and the Arduin boys. They're in the last hour of their Kickstarter, historic Kickstarter. It's at like 53K. If you haven't backed it, please take a look. You get 3 games, a bunch of material. It is OSR heaven. It's honoring the past with like a look towards the future. It looks fantastic. I thought Lord Mattius was playing Orko. I caught that reference, and that's actually a really good one. But no.
So real
quick.
It's just us for a lot of it. We're hey, what's up, Disco?
$5
Can
super.
I fucking say his thing? This
You want to do it? Well, that's because you never do it.
I never get to say.
You never.
Oh my goodness!
You've never indicated an interest. You've never indicated. Go for it.
Your dog, brothers and sword sisters. Finally, the weekend. Let's get ready to stand some watch, motherfuckers. $5. All right.
Thanks, Disco. You know what? I think Gary's now officially always going to read your super chats. That was more acting than I could do.
Yeah, well, I'm a few drinks in. Real quick before we get started, you were talking about being on Matt's Barrows and Borderlands, talking about the Kickstarter. Bro, I just got the physical box. You know, I've always felt bad. I felt like you're welcome. Hey, Disco, you got it. You're welcome. Anyway, I've always felt like I missed out on OSE with not being in that first group of box set and, you know, being there at the beginning. And Matt, I have to hand it to you. I don't know how you came across Barrows and Borderlands, but you did. And I can't say, like, as I read through this and as I handle the physical product, and I hate to call it a physical product, but, you know, just having it, holding it, and reading it and looking through it, I just love it more and more.
Yeah.
And I can't, you know, I really, really like it when, oh shit, big one. I like it when things happen because people love something. This wasn't made with the intent of even creating a game. It was just about him and his friends. It's organic. It's like a good band, or, you know, those people who like, oh shit, looks like I started the business on accident. You know what I mean? I just love that. So
yeah.
Hey, Chubby just hooked us up.
I want to. I'll get to his super chat in just a second. You asked how did I find this, dude? I stumbled upon it on Twitter, and I was like, oh, this looks interesting. And I'm not shitting you. The very first thing, that's the cat.
It got me. It got me.
The very first thought I had was, shit. another fucking OD&D retro clone. Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
That was literally my. But then I got a few chats. I took a little closer look, and I'm like, okay. And then I was literally the last person to get a first printing. Like I
Yeah.
slid into home base, like, and I got it. And as I was waiting for it, I was learning more about it. And when I came in, that's when I did the unboxing, and then I did a review. And Matt said something I didn't know. I didn't realize this, but he said something on a stream tonight where he's like, I published this thing and I put it out there. And Mattias, like, you were the first one to do this. And I ran to my parents and I showed them YouTuber liked my game. And it really like encouraged me. And I'm like, well, you know what? That means a lot because I said
that
this.
was your goal.
That was my goal. Like I believe in the indie scene so much. There's so many great creatives like Chubby. We'll get to his super chat right now. But like Chubby, like there, and I'm telling everybody in chat, everyone who's watching this, if you got an idea, start writing, and put it out there. Maybe it'll catch, maybe it won't, but hey, at least you did something. It's infinitely going to be more interesting than this corporate crap that we're getting.
But that's the other thing. That's one of the, I mentioned that in the Barrows and Borderlands podcast. We're really fortunate. We know Chubby, Erudite's creating some great stuff for Shadow Dark. We were fortunate enough to meet Matt. We've met a lot of creators, Rob Alderman with all of his stuff. And it's not just that they're creating independent products so that we don't have to spend that money over at WotC. They're creating things that are just better.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like Rob, Gods of the Forbidden North is there's not one module or one anything that WotC has done that can stand up to that.
I agree.
Barrows and Borderlands as a rule set, I mean, as a rule set, like as a critic, I guess, wipes the table with almost every OSR sort of clone, and it's not even a clone. It does so many new things.
Yes, yeah. And I also love if you're like into like the historical part. It's going on with like what Dave Hardgrave was doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Real quick, I would like to address Mage's musings. If you could put them up there real quick, and I mean this with like
this one.
Yes. So Mage's musings, you say, I would rather see some supplements that are compatible with the various systems than another set of house rules published as a new game. And you know what? I understand that. And 99% of all games that come out, I would agree with you. But if you have not looked at it, I'm pleading with you right now, Mage's Musing. I'm a huge fan of your channel. I bought the little minis because of you. Barrows and Borderlands is the game that you should check out.
Yeah.
I get it. There's a lot of clones. There's a lot of things that are almost really good.
Yeah.
Barrows and Borderlands is different.
There is nothing wrong with studying the original game to gain insight, because it's not like you can go to D&D University and learn all this shit. No, it's something it's praxis. Like, you just got to do it. I make the argument many times with game mastery, but it's also with game design. Like, it's very much like the law. Like, you could like learn a few things about game design, but you're not going to really get better at it unless you do it, right? So like, I get that, but the market is freaking saturated, and the OSR really truly has moved beyond retro clones and here's my house rules to make something. We need something that is going to really add to, and Barrows and Borderlands, I think, is doing it among other things. So, but hey, Chubby's been sitting in the wings here. $20. This guy,
Chubby.
It's the Shadow Dark money. Thanks, Thanks, Chubby. Spend this money on booze and candy. Well, I'll spend it on booze, but then make a new intro that I don't have to turn down the volume to prevent my family from waking up. It's bad enough you keep me up so late. Second watch, is that a 500% volume or what? Bro, it's punk rock. It's meant to blow yours out.
Matt was being edgy.
And not for nothing, it goes to 11.
And not for nothing, he doesn't know how to adjust it. And that is what
I
happened.
do. I do. I just
Holy
don't.
fuck, you did that on purpose? Oh my god. Hey,
We got
you
another
had said
super
it.
chat. $5. Robert Stanton. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time tonight. Hey, buddy, that's what we're here for. We're hoping you're having a good time, having a few laughs, maybe having a drink along with us.
Death Angel Shadow, but really Matthew Tapp is an awesome guy. He has very infectious and youthful energy. That's amazing. Absolutely right.
100%.
And here's the thing. So I don't know if you guys know this. I don't really speak English. I speak like fluent deadbeat musician, right? And I call everybody kid. I don't know why. It's just a thing I do. Hey kid, hey kid. It's just something I've always done. And with Matthew Tapp, I'm always like, look, kid, hey kid, because he does have that. I know he's almost 30, but he's very like he's got that young energy and he's out there just doing it. And man, there's a few people who in the game world I look up to and I think, wow, look at all the great stuff you're doing. And I mean, very quickly, Matthew's made that list. Not you, but Matthew Tapp.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah.
He's made that list real quick and he doesn't have to prove anything. He just puts out something that's really special.
So yeah, and this is the thing that we almost started talking about before the stream went on, and we were like, we got to save this for the stream.
Right.
So a little while back, I had this bit of an epiphany about OSR gaming, and this is pretty exclusive, I think, to playing other game systems. But the OSR really is more about, the game master stepping into the role of game designer. They have an idea, they have an experience they want to present to their players, and they have to start answering all these questions before they even play roll the first die. And they are creating a game for their players. And this opens the door to things like, a few house rules for the game masters that are experienced with a particular system, some homebrew to ensure a particular world or genre is met. And what Barrows and Borderlands is the consequence of Matthew Tapp doing just that with all his guys. Like, he designed the game through play, as opposed to being a YouTuber who's like, I'm going to design a game. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I should. I don't think Matt would appreciate this, but I find so many Grateful Dead analogies, like side by side, like sorry, it's that whole music thing. But it's like they weren't really a band. They all just really like taking this dude's acid, and they followed him around the country in the 60s. And then the next thing you know, doing what they love became this commercial empire, that was independent, that they didn't share with anybody. And I think, with Matt and and I don't think he could have done it without his group of players.
I agree.
Right. And there's another thing, there's this theory, and I think it's got lumped in with the whole Rule Zero and everything, but there was this idea in RPGs where you would, when a player says, can I, the answer is yes, and right. Do you remember that? I think a few years ago, you hear people talk about that all the time. Yes, and. So this dude's getting people who have only played 5e. He tells them the game's open. What do you want to play? And they're like, I want to play a vampire. Yes, and we'll do it like this and this, and he's really incorporated that into his game. But I think because he understands that OD&D system, there's this sort of instinctual, how are we going to work this? And the numbers kind of work out, So it's an organic growth. Yes. I hear that there are other OSR games out there that start out as home games and then they become a product. I don't know if I buy it. Not like this. This is so honest and original. Anyway, we've been up that dude's ass for 15 minutes now.
Barrows and Borderlands definitely feels authentic. It really does. Much in the same way, got to plug it, Lamentations of the Flame Princess feels authentic. So, C Miller, thanks for your question, man. Thanks for being here. Why are non-OSR games not opening the door to potential game designer DMs? To clarify my point, I was kind of being the lawyer and hedging my bets with the way I worded it. I'm not saying you can't be a game designer as GM when playing something like Free League. I'm not saying that. It's just been in my experience that OSR really lends itself to that. That being said, I mentioned Free League on purpose. Free League's Year Zero game engine is so malleable and so I mean, you could do a lot with it that if you I wouldn't. Well, I'll be honest with you. Like when Gary's been like preparing to run a game, and he even mentioned using Vossen as a basis for his Luna campaign. He's not going in that direction,
No.
but a Free League's Year Zero game engine, I think you could, if you truly understand how it works, be a game master that designs your own thing, and your players should feel comfortable and trust you when you start homebrewing it and house ruling it. And this is all in the backdrop of the rules is written versus quote unquote rules zero debate, which I think is horribly conflated and horribly simplified, which I think, Gary, you were getting at
Chubby,
that.
get the mullet out of here. I was running the game, and then football season started, and now I'm sending out invitations tomorrow. Where's the beef? Sorry.
Yeah, well, I've gotten some shit too because I keep talking about running something and I haven't. But
have you ever noticed there's this whole thing? We do a show on Friday nights. That's like prime gaming time.
I don't know how Friday night is prime gaming time for anybody. I'm like wiped out on Friday. Like Saturday, the weekend, Saturday and Sunday is my gaming time. I usually run games on Thursday nights because in my line of work, Fridays more often than not are easy. So if I'm a little hungover or tired, it's not going to affect me. So I'll run games on Thursdays, but yeah, I think I'm gonna the next game I run for my channel it's probably going to be Sunday afternoons because all right, going to dive into this real quick. So I did this live stream last Sunday while I fasted. Thank you everybody for joining. You were a big help. I appreciate it. The next morning I slept like shit because I drank too much coffee and I was hungry and it was hard to sleep, but I didn't feel like shit. And then when I finally ate at noon, I felt fantastic. So I think I'm going to start fasting every Sunday. It just felt good.
Aren't you
So
like, you're Catholic, right?
yes,
Aren't
but
you supposed to like fast more than that? Isn't there
no,
like a
no.
designated day for you
Well,
guys?
that's called Lent.
Oh, my bad.
But
Sorry.
but here, no, that's cool. But here's a little insight into my philosophy and take on Catholicism. I'm really bad at being a good Christian, which makes me a really good Catholic. Anyway, so anyway, I'm always in confession. Anyway, so but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start running games on Sunday afternoons. So I can try to grab some people that I really respect and admire from Portugal. Maybe they'll be available to run my in my games, but it'll also help distract me from my hunger while I fast. So I will be announcing a game very soon as well. So Chubby, yeah, games are coming. Games are coming.
Chubby, where's the beef? No, it has. I haven't run a game in a couple months, but I've played in a couple games. Actually, that's not true. I ran an Easy D6 game, a little one shot a couple weeks ago.
That was fun.
Yeah. Well,
honestly, bro, you made the joke on Matthew Tapp's stream about me.
Yeah, let's get into this, motherfucker. Let's do it.
But you were like Easy D6, and you were like, I don't know, peanut butter and jelly. Like you were just, it felt right, and it was easy. But when you were running your OSE game, while I love the world and everything that you were doing with it, and truth be told, I had a little bit of insight on what was going on, not a lot. It's not that you weren't good at it, it was that it just didn't feel natural.
It
Does that make
wasn't
sense?
natural. You know, you're absolutely right. It wasn't natural. And I will tell you what the difference is. Um, I tried, I guess we're doing Westmore. We said this was gonna be a subject. I guess we're getting into it.
Oh,
Um,
'cause I'm
it
not.
wasn't
Well, we'll be
natural.
talking about this more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll be
Yeah.
talking about that whole experience more in a different stream. But it didn't feel natural because, and I don't know if this is me misinterpreting the intention of the game or not, but really, I felt like I was supposed to almost like I'm providing a service as this sort of unbiased God. Like I'm not supposed to do shit. You guys are supposed to go out and do things, and that's not how I do it. And then there's all these steps. And it just kind of got to be fucking day of travel, roll the dice, have a sin, and roll the dice, but roll the dice. You know what I mean? And I do think that there is something to be said about planning an encounter, not just something that people come across, not just some random roll, but actually like, hey, tonight these guys are going to stumble on this shit. This is what we're doing tonight. I think there's something for, something to that. And I wasn't doing that at all.
Yeah.
At
Oh
all.
yeah. I don't. Again, like I'm not going to discount what you said at all. Because it's your not just because it's your gaming style, but because I've experienced that and I've had a blast. I really
Right.
truly have had a blast, and never. Well, I shouldn't say never once, but 9 times out of 10 when I've been gaming with you, I've never felt railroaded. Okay.
I
Um.
know I've railroaded you a
Oh, I know
couple
you
times.
have.
By the way,
There's a
my
couple
girls are
times.
about to come in. Dogs are about to go crazy. Sorry.
But I know you have, but like the one time, maybe I think it was like I felt like I caught you.
Yeah.
It wasn't that big of a deal, I just kind of like mentioned something and then we kind of rolled with it, right? But yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Like for me, the procedure, I'm so used to the procedure, it melts into the
Either
background
you or I
where
froze
I'm
up.
not.
I don't know who it
Oh,
is.
yeah. It kind of the procedure just moves into the background, and I'm not having to go, okay, step one, guys, it's time to do this. It's just like part of the conversation. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think that's not I think that just comes with experience. You know what I mean? Like I'm running a game with 1-to-1 time, and it's pretty procedural OSR game. It's Gods of the Forbidden North rules
Mhm.
cyclopedia with a bunch of stuff I've added to it. Um, and I am while I printed out the procedural steps
I
just
hate to
to
do this, Matt.
reference.
1 second. I gotta
Oh,
open the door. My bad. Hang on.
all right.
Sorry. Entertain these people.
I will just keep talking to it'll be like I'm talking to Gary because he never listens to me anyway. But yeah, like I printed it out as a reference, but I'm just so used to doing it. I don't need to reference. I don't need to go, okay, step one, we're doing this. Step two, we're doing that. It's just like I'm talking to my players. Okay, what's your marching order again? Okay, where did you say you wanted to go? You're heading north. Roll some dice. Okay, you think you're heading north. All right, so you're doing this. Okay, it's and I'm just rolling dice and we're having this conversation. So and I think at the end of the day, well, here's another piece of insight, and I wish Gary was here to hear this. We did a Halloween one shot. Chubby was there with Greg Gillespie, and Rob Alderman ran the game, and he was running the Free League Year Zero game engine for uh, the Walking Dead RPG. And that functions very similar to OSR play. It's just in reverse, where the OSR play, it's procedure, 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 procedure. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Roll dice, roll dice, roll dice. And then like the story emerges with the rule zero. It's like, what are you doing? Well, I kind of want to use my mobility. All right, roll the dice. You succeed. Now describe what happens, and it's more of, in both instances, it's a give and take between the player and the game master. And I think that's really where the game resides. The give and take. If you have a game where it's heavy-handed, narrative story game where the DM is controlling everything, you've lost it. But I think on the flip side, where you're going into war game, where there is no give and take, and you're purely a referee, Gary, which I think is what you were feeling. Yeah. You've lost that give and take. The game resides there. That's where the fun is. Hey, I want to climb this. I want to somehow traverse this ravine. Well, how are you going to do it? Says the game master. I'm going to jump. Well, it's a 50-foot jump. That's impossible to do. Right. All right. Well, what if I tie my rope and this and that? Okay. Well, maybe I'm going to make it a little easier for you. Okay. Well, what if I do this other thing? And there's this give and take that goes on. That problem solving. I think that's where
it's more than just that. It's almost like a audience to performer kind of thing. Not quite, because you're not necessarily performing, but there is this certain my girl just came in. It's hard for me to pay attention to you, Matt. Anyway, right. it is.
I get that all the time. My wife says that to me too, for some reason.
That her girl came in and she can't pay attention to you. But there is this sort of give and take, where you're giving energy out and they're sort of giving you something back. They're giving a certain amount of energy back, right? And when you're nothing but the referee, you're performing a service, you're just kind of.
I agree.
Yeah.
Dude, that's been my biggest complaint and why I respect the play style of the Bro SR. You'll never see me really dive headfirst into the Bro SR, because that is what you are when you're a Bro SR GM. And I'm like, how is this fun? You know what I mean? How is this fun for you? You're not inputting any creative input other than the initial start, and then you're just calling balls and strikes. To me, that's not fun. Hold on, we got a super chat. Sorry. Sure, Robert Stanton, $10. Happy Halloween. My children are out trick-or-treating. Well, I hope they get a ton of sugary candy snacks, and I don't know, have fun with that. But like I said earlier, my kid did not.
Wife brought home some of the kids' chocolate. I didn't even go trick-or-treating tonight.
There's too much narrative power for the players in the Walking Dead game. I'm going to disagree with you that, Chubby, because their narrative comes after the dice roll. I mean, the dice dictate what happens still, just like in an OSR game. Maybe you can expound in the chat.
Matt Chubby just wants to start shit.
Well, that's why we love having him in chat. Death Angel Shadow just gave us a update on the Kickstarter, very close to 55K. That's fantastic. Chubby, I love you. And I'm never wrong. That's the problem. And when I am wrong, it's not that I'm wrong. It's just I was mistaken. Just
I gotta say, Mr. Tap, who we talked about earlier, put out this thank you video earlier this week, and I almost feel like I can't wait till we get to the point where we got to put out a thank you video. You know what I mean? And Chubby, I would thank you, man. And yes, I'm a couple drinks in, but I would thank you. You're a friend of the show, even if all you do is talk shit and try to get me and Matt into arguments.
He's really good at it, though.
He's real good at it.
He's really good at it.
Now I'm gonna look.
Thank God I don't have to put him on the payroll.
She'll make me a drink.
Don't do it. Don't give it to
him. Dude, if you knew, I'm never speaking of this day ever again. I'm never gonna tell you what happened on this day. But holy fuck, dude, this was a bad.
Oh yes, no, I hear you. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway, games. Sorry, I drank too much before we started the gig. I'm sorry, man. My bad.
Oh, are we live?
We are live, bro. Oh, we are live. Hey, when we were playing Easy D6 the other night, what was it that what didn't you like about it? And I'm not talking about my game mastering necessarily, but what aspect didn't you like?
Um,
And it can
Great.
be my game mastering, but it doesn't
No, no,
have to be.
your game mastery was actually fine. Actually, it for me it was more that um because it was such a rules light.
Night, Judd.
Oh, just taken off.
Yep.
Good night, my man. Take it easy. Because the game was so rules light, it was hard to um make characters that were complementary to other characters without like having a sit down. Like you really need a a session 0, I
I
think.
agree.
Because like I made a character that had, I can't remember what the talent or whatever it was.
Inclinations,
Yeah, inclination, and erudite
aspects.
DMs had the exact same one, and it
Well,
kind of took away from like it made like mechanically it kind of made sense for my character, but it made more sense thematically for his character. And as I was reading through the book in the middle of the game session, I saw this other thing I could have taken that would have
mhm.
made way more sense for my character. And I'm like, ah, shit, But I got to play Brogan again,
Yeah.
and I got to actually like I was trying to 4D it the entire time.
Well,
Uh,
and that's one of the things, I've been watching more of Crispy's videos. I wish Crispy were here tonight. I wish we could get him online. But I've been watching more of his videos. Now, I don't know that I can ever be disciplined enough to like, memorize the 4 dimensions of role playing and really give a shit about any of that. But he makes a lot of sense. And I think that the Easy D6 campaigns, I'm gonna do a few different things with Easy D6.
I think you should. I
Yeah,
really honestly encourage you to do that because again, man, like I love the fact that you tried to do, and I say tried to do not because it was like a failure or anything, but like you tried to do a West Marches game and you were doing the whole procedural thing. And then I'm looking at it. I'm looking at what you did with the West Marches game, and I'm comparing it with that one shot with Easy D6. And I know where your wheelhouse is, like
I know.
100%. And that's not to say you couldn't
No,
be an awesome OSR game master down the line. That's not
you
to
know what
say
it
that,
is? Here's
but
what would have never happened. Okay, here's something that would have never happened in the West Marches game. Okay. At the end in the battle, right? I had that monster turn the corner and it was going to attack somebody's character. I don't remember who. And I did the thing where the girl that y'all had saved earlier was on top of the roof with the bow. That the first thing I mentioned about her was that she had a bow, right? If
yeah.
you mention a gun, you got to use it. And then I was a total random roll. If I wouldn't have made that roll, her arrow wouldn't have killed that monster. I wouldn't have thought of that in OSE because in my mind, everything would have had its place. But at some point during the battle, like I just imagined her climbing up the thing, getting up on a straw roof. You know what I mean? It's different when you have that wiggle room,
Yeah. Well,
right?
in the same vein, dude, if this was an OSC, that if that same adventure was an OSE game, I wouldn't have had that like character introduction moment where I was just like, you described like the fist fight in like in the ring,
Mhm.
and you're like, what do you guys do? And I'm just like, Brogan just saunters in,
Yeah, you
strips.
wouldn't have done that.
And then I just like started describing like how I kicked the living crap out of this guy, and it totally fit not just the dice rolls, but like the narrative control that system allows. Where in Easy D6, or I'm sorry, with OSE, it's like, oh, I didn't, I hit and I did X amount of damage.
Yeah,
Yes, you can still have that sort of narrative thing that happens,
I'm about to
but
say
it
something.
it's kind of ancillary, right? It's sort of like, oh yeah, you did 4 damage and you locked his arm and you broke it.
I
But the
wish,
real issue was
yeah,
that I did 4 damage with Easy D6. I got a strike. Well, what does that mean? I grabbed his arm, I broke it at the elbow, and then I punched him in the face, and then I threw him into the ground.
and
You know?
that is as much as I have shit on rules like games in the past, and I have, dude. but that is the beauty of a rules light game, is that the players are always thinking, what would my character do, instead of what can my character do,
Yes, yes, yes.
right? And the
Mhm.
GM is
Yeah.
just like, whatever I can, you know. One of the things I love about comic books, and this is true of role-playing games as well, is it's like, imagine you want to make a movie with a lot of special effects, and you're given an unlimited budget. The imagination is just completely so whatever I think of, I can throw in there. um yeah, here's the other thing I was going to say, Matt. You ready? Here,
Sure.
clip this shit. All right,
All
what
right.
you just said is proof that D&D is a war game. Like, that whole meme that we get from the browsers, D&D
Well,
is
no,
a
they're
war
not.
game.
They're not.
They're not wrong.
They're not
They're not
entirely wrong.
wrong.
No, they're not
you
entirely
know
wrong. No, where I disagree. It's characterization, right? Like I see role playing games on a sliding scale, not categorical. Like when I was
Word.
actually talking to Alexander McCrease at Arnicon, and I brought up story gaming, his response was very categorical. Well, they're not role playing games, and I was just like, "Boo." And I was like, I'm too drunk. I'm not going to engage on this. Like, I just like, okay, Alexander McCrease does not think story games are RPGs. Fair enough, but I disagree. I think there is, especially when you look at the work that Griff has done and what was
Yeah.
going on with like the Brownsteins and all that stuff. It's a sliding scale. I really truly believe that, and
Well,
like your game system is going to fall somewhere on that, and D&D certainly is on the war game side of that sliding scale. I will not deny that. Where I
that
will I will contradict is where, and I don't know if the BroSR actually believe this anymore, but a few years ago, I'm sure they did. They didn't give a crap about your setting. They didn't give a crap about whatever genre you were trying to fulfill. If a player wanted to have laser guns and like some weird idea, you had to allow it because my player agency, right? Whereas I think most D&D players will say, "Oh, setting matters. So if you're going to prohibit me from doing a certain thing with a character build because it wouldn't fit the setting, that's cool because I want to honor the setting." And that's where you go into the narrative, the story game side, right? So,
I'm not. Yeah, I don't even know if I understand what a story game is, really. I know it's a game that has, this is what I consider a story game. Any of you guys going to PAX in Philly in 3 weeks? Hey, any of you
nope,
guys going to PAX in Philly in 3 weeks? Sorry,
nope,
man. I wish I
no.
could. Um, but I mean, what is? I think it's a spectrum, Matt. It's a spectrum. Story games. Um, we played Easy D6, and that definitely lends itself to where you can have a story. But I'm going to tell you the truth. I didn't know that anything was going to happen except for the event at the end of the game. It was all, what are you guys going to do? I didn't know if you were going to fight the guy. Let's see here. I want to know. Chubby says a story game is all right. So Chubby says a story game is when the players have significant narrative power to change the world around them and not just take their own actions. Well, in that case, I don't know that I do run story games, because I'm of the attitude that this fucking world is mine. I built it. You can make whatever characters you want. Your characters can do whatever they want, but the world is, that's what I get to create, right? Maybe. Am I
Well, let me
wrong?
ask you. I mean, well, let's go back to the row.
Okay.
Like, how much of the row was influenced by just the introduction of certain characters, and players are like, this is the guy I'm going to make. Like, how much did you go, oh, that's cool, and then you added to or modified what you were already thinking?
Um, that's an odd. I want to write a whole paper about those 8 to 10 sessions, to tell you the truth. Because it's different with every character. I didn't modify. the only thing that really stands out wasn't really used. Like, I really had a lot, not that I planned a story, but I had a lot of stuff with all the mafia things. I really thought the most obvious thing for you guys to do would be to get into that side of things. The magic part of it was really supposed to be outside of that, something y'all had to deal with. And you just kind of went a different way, because I thought with Legacy's character, Legacy would definitely want to get in there and get embedded, but that just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then with Melkor's character, he played this old Native American shaman. The one detail I know that I did create for a character is that I put the the herb shop, right? Like, there was a place for him to get herbs and all that kind of stuff. But that wasn't out of character, because there's also like a magical kung fu noodle restaurant next to a gypsy fortune teller. You know what I mean? Like, that was just the setting. It fit. It was fine. But I really, honestly, I didn't adjust the setting much. I didn't adjust the setting much at all. There's a lot of things y'all didn't find. One of the things I'm excited about is that there are 2 characters from the row that wind up in Luna that are still alive in 77. I can't wait.
Yeah, but see that, but that right there, though, like the fact that the players did have an impact on the world, right? And like we've even talked about, because I want to run a supers game, and this is something I'm working on. That's going to be connected to the row, and this is kind of like our own personal project where we're going to sort of develop our own supers universe by going back and forth. I'm going to run something, blah blah blah. Gary, you already got something planned for like the Rocket Age or whatever.
Yep. I have the 60s and the 70s worked out.
Yeah, but this is
World War II.
Yeah, but this is all started with the row, and it's all based on some of the stuff our characters did, right?
Yeah, so absolutely.
But then again, that at that point, though, we're more meta level, right? So I don't know.
Well, it's honestly, it's to entertain me. I'm going to tell you, I'm serious. As a game master, I'm finding things that make me happy, because I don't always know that I'm going to have the same play. Like, I don't know if Melkor is going to join us for this next game, but his character is intrinsically linked to the setting, even though you guys never. I don't know, man. Well, just so everybody is not confused, all of my games that are not like fantasy or sci-fi, if they're anywhere near modern, they all take place in the same world. I think that's something I need to talk to Matt about, because Matt's doing World War II. And here's the thing. Okay.
I'm like a Stephen King thing. Like,
they
could be connected.
So I
don't know.
They're not. Well, they are connected, but here's the thing. Here's what worries me, because you're in charge of the World War II spot, and I don't want to be spoiled, but I do want to mention something. We've been talking about this for like a year. So I do want to mention something, and maybe, I don't know how you're going to take this, because I've never co-DM'd with somebody. Think of it like this. When you do a comic book, right? Like, let's say you get to write Captain America for a year. You can do whatever you want to Captain America for 11 months. You can make him a space guy. You can put him in a robot suit. You can make him an agent you can do whatever you want for 11 months. But month 12, you got to put everything back together, right? So if you could not like apocalypse my world, that would be great.
No, that's not actually not. Yeah, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with what I'm planning.
Hold on, I want to read Chubby's comment. Can we just invite Chubby? He's got some shit to say.
Yeah, we can. Can I go grab a drink first?
Invite Chubby real quick, and then go get a drink, and I'll entertain these people. Even though
Chubby, do you want to come on?
Chubby, you want to come on the show? I miss you, man. It's been a while since I heard your voice.
He's been writing songs about you.
I have been writing songs about you.
Baby, don't treat me bad.
Oh, Chubby, won't you come back? He's going to send you an invitation, get you, and then he's going to go make a drink.
All right, I sent it. It's in your X. I'll be back.
Hey, Death Angel Shadow. Bro, if I could tap dance, I would be much, much richer. Do you know how unique that is now? Nobody tap dances anymore, right? Oh, I got one kid who would be a great tap dancer. Hey, guys, I am going. Chubby, he probably sent you the invitation but didn't let you in the room, and I'm sorry, I don't have the controls to let you in. I don't know why he would run away. But yeah, I'm actually sending out invitations tomorrow for an Easy D6 game. And for you guys that have never played Easy D6, Death Angel Shadow, everybody's making me laugh. For those of you guys that have never played Easy D6, I think it is the system. If you want a game that's heavy on role playing, and I don't even really know if I want to say story, because I don't have a story planned, right? I have a bad guy and he's got his goals. And he's got his little bad guys, and all right, Matt, Chubby's ready when you get back. Are you back? Chubby is ready.
I'm here. Oh, I forgot. I have control of this.
Chubby!
Hey, what's up, Chubby?
Chubby, you look like you've been on about a 4-day bender in Vegas. Look at that facial hair. I can't. You're online. We're live,
I was
Chubby.
just switching. I had to mute one of the tabs while I was waiting because I could hear both. It was like a 1 second lag on the audio.
Right on. All right. So what was your take on story games?
What I'm saying is, the fundamental thing is, like in the example I put in the text, like if you walk into a room in Gods of the Forbidden North, right? Mm-hmm. Either I have a description from Rob of what's in that room, or I've made up whatever's in that room, or I might have even randomly determined what's in that room from a table, right? Mm-hmm. But I control what's in that room. But if you run into the room and you say, I need a sword, I'm looking for a sword, and you make a roll, and your success on the roll creates the sword in the room, you see what I'm saying? Those are the kind of mechanics that are what story games are all about. So it happens on all kinds of dimensions. It can happen in social dimensions. It can happen in physical objects. It can happen at any time that the player can take some aspect of the game that the GM would normally have absolute authority over, and they take it over. Then that's like the defining feature of what makes it a story game. And it also is why I say that I don't play story games. The reason is behind every story game design, behind every chassis, is a butthurt experience that they had in the past with some GM. And so they've designed the game so that the GM can't do that. I will take the power and I will stick it to the GM, and I will have the power to make that change.
Do you think
all story one of these things?
I don't. Well, you might be right, because some of the story games that I have encountered that I don't like seem to definitely fit that mold.
Sure.
I can usually tell you what it is by looking at the design itself. I mean, like it's very clear what they were buttered about.
But does it have to be adversarial? Because like I hear a lot of criticism of like from anti-OSR types is that the adversarial sort of player versus GM thing, right? Like, oh, you're just trying to kill my players, this, that, and the other thing, and that's obviously
I'm not
bullshit.
Trying to kill people in OSE, but the world is what it is. Like that's what it is.
But my question is, does story games like, it seems like your analysis, your conclusion of what a story games is necessarily adversarial player versus game master.
No, I don't think that's true. I think most of the time it's a collaborative thing, like the yes and thing. I mean, sometimes it probably is, but I don't think it has to be. Go ahead, Gary.
Okay, real quick question. One of my favorite games that everybody hates except for me is Fantasy Flight's Edge of the Empire. And it uses the special dice that everybody get pissed off about, which is dumb. But one of the things that you can do is there is a chance that you will roll what's called a triumph. And when you roll a triumph, it counts as a success, and the player adds a reasonable story element, right? So, for example, we're having a shootout in the hangar bay of a Star Destroyer while these players, while their characters are trying to get out. A player rolls a triumph, which means that he does what he wants to do, but he's allowed to add something to the narrative. And he says, my shot ricochets, it knocks a TIE fighter out of its spot hanging up and causes a chain reaction of explosions. As a game master, I'm excited about that. I think that's fucking great. But does that make it a story game, even though it's involved in the mechanics?
It's a story game mechanic.
Is it
how
evil?
Many story game mechanics you need to make a story game versus another game? That I don't care about even fighting about that. People can draw the line and whatever. The mechanic is the story game mechanic. That's what matters to me. So like my problem with Walking Dead is that it does include some story game mechanics in that way, in a way that Alien doesn't. I don't have this problem in Alien at all, because in Alien you're never kind of interpreting group combat back and forth in the way that you do in, you see what I'm saying? You can't kind of just, I'm going to try to do this, and we're going to bend reality to fit whatever the die roll is. No, like in Alien, I'm trying to kill this fucking alien. I roll the dice, I miss, or I don't, like whatever. There's no reality bending interpretation. Right.
Gotcha.
With
so
the mechanic
it's not the triumph doesn't allow you to bend reality. It's not like you can just say something's there that wasn't there.
Here's the thing. Okay, so you brought up Macrease earlier, Matt. One of Macrease's principles is about the unity of incentives and motivations between the game chassis and the character, right? So one of the things that he has with like reserve XP and having funerals for characters that die and stuff is that the incentives all need to be aligned in the same way. Okay, so the player doesn't want to die, right? Or the player, obviously the player doesn't want it. Character doesn't want to die, but the character in the fiction might be more willing to die than you, the player, want them to die, like in a Viking sense. Like, I'm fine with going down in this fight. I'm going to throw myself into it and die, right? So by having the funeral, your character can die. There's a benefit to you, whereas before, from the player's perspective, it's all penalty if the character dies, right? You see what I'm saying? So a lot of the mechanical discussions that Macrease has, he points that out. He points out that like having gold for XP makes it so that the player and the character are totally aligned. They both want gold, right? But if you separate that in some respects, so that there are certain things that the player is going to want, but the character is not going to really want, that's going to cause the problem. So you need to have an alignment of goals. Now, to get back to story games, the issue with story games is that when the GM is making a decision about how things work, like that ricochet, right? You roll the dice, the GM sees that you rolled a crit or a fail or a success, either way, and they go, okay, there's going to be a ricochet, and the GM uses their judgment to decide how it will work. Now, unless they're a douchebag, which is the reason why we get story games, like I said, unless they're a douchebag, they're going to use their reason and go, okay, this is something that would reasonably happen. But when the player is interpreting something, their incentive is not to maintain world reality and everything makes sense and all that stuff. Their incentives are to benefit them. They're going to say, I want it to knock that TIE fighter down so that benefits me, right? Players rarely interpret the fiction against them.
But yes, you're right. You're right. And Gary and I have mentioned this previously. Story games really only work with a select group of players, like willing to do the buy-in and who are willing to like role play. And I think that's why you have like the 4D guys who like, and we had this argument a couple weeks ago with like Bacon, where he's fucking great guy, smart guy, but like, in the horror context, like they're going to like want to role play
Yeah,
being afraid, whereas I'm from an OSR perspective, I know goddamn well there's a separation, and I know you're not afraid. So like, how am I going to make you afraid, right? So how am I going
that's
to
right.
implant that incentive? So I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. But like, I just want, this is me being the lawyer, the sophist. Okay,
Yeah.
take it for what it is. But you added a bunch of qualifiers, right? Like, unless he's a douchebag, right? Well, what if the player's a douchebag? Like, the players
That's
could not
true.
buy in and not play the game the way it was intended, and that will also ruin the game, right? And I'm not trying to throw shade, but like, that was actually quite exemplified by that one shot we had a few weeks ago. I had a lot of fun. It was great, and there were some awesome moments. But there was a few times I'm thinking back, and I'm hearing, and I had the exact same conclusion or thoughts that you're expressing today. I'm like, you could definitely tell there were OSR players playing in a story game.
Word.
Because the way they were interpreting the dice rolls were not consistent with the way the narrative was going.
That's right. And almost everybody that is an OSR player, this is just my observation. I'm open to being wrong, but they're hyper focused on imagining the exact thing in their head and saying, like, okay, Gary is 20 feet from me and the thing is 10 feet from me, and they're putting it together like, I can't run far enough away to throw the, like that's the calculation they're making. They're putting all that spatial reality together in their head. And story game type people are more interested in what would be exciting, what would be whatever. And like all of us, when we were under that bridge, we were thinking in hard reality terms. How
Not me.
how can we prevent that? Like I'm saying, like it was a physical challenge.
Sure,
You
yeah.
weren't going. The great thing for the story would be for Gary to explode with fireworks, right? Nobody thought that. Everybody was trying to play, but Gary was like, "Okay, I'm screwed. The only thing I can do is blow myself up with fireworks." But if right from the beginning Gary had gone, you know what would be great is if I just blew up with fireworks and live. That's what I'm saying. Like the incentives have to be aligned. Gary needs to care about living just as much as his character does, and not go, it would be great for my character to get blown up.
Well, hey, Chubby, can I ask you a question? Because the example I used the Triumph from Edge of the Empire.
Yes.
And one of the reasons that never rubbed me the wrong way, where it might in another game, is because it was Star Wars.
That is a benefit there.
You know what I mean? Like if it was Twilight 2000,
I totally would be. I don't have a particular problem with that mechanic if it's embedded in a mostly consistent non-story game design. Mm-hmm. Occasionally having an element like that, I'm willing to forgive it. But if we ran 1,000 scenarios where somebody had to interpret it, and then we looked at how the GM would interpret it versus how you would interpret it, it would almost always result in something in your favor when you're interpreting it as the player, right? You see what I'm saying? But the GM might make a neutral call.
It's not supposed to be a neutral call. It's supposed to be a positive call. It's supposed to be a theatrical moment in favor of the characters.
It depends on what we're talking about. OSR.
Well, I'm talking about the example I used.
Yeah.
I have one more thing real quick on this subject. So by your definition, I'm not sure that EZD6 counts as a story game as much as it facilitates that kind of play. Because the only mechanic that affects the reality of the game is the karma mechanic, where you have 3 points that you can basically add to any die roll, and it's like you have 3 karma points, and then you earn 1 karma point every time you fail a roll. So you're not changing what's happening in the world, but you do have some agency to make certain roles better and let other roles be shit. So is that the same thing?
Well, does the GM get those tokens? How many times have you seen a Shadow Dark GM use a luck token for one of their monsters? for one of
The
their
monsters don't. The monsters don't.
Yeah, they
have
don't
that.
get 'em.
So, but by making a token like that, like, you know, I'm okay with it in Shadowdark. It doesn't bust my ball. I don't use it as much as other people. I'm betting for sure, but by having those things, you're basically giving the player a bonus free mechanical advantage in certain situations, and they have control over when that comes into effect. When am I going to use my luck token? When am I going to use my?
Can I ask
when am I going to do
just
whatever?
realized something about Chubby's game. When I played, I was able to like find time to play one session with Chubby, and I always get the phone call, and goddamn it, I want to play. I swear I want to play, but Saturday nights are rough. But I realized the one session I did play, not one motherfucker used their hero token.
We don't.
Nobody used it.
No.
They were all OSR players, and that idea was so foreign, it just never came up.
I think there's a.
Oh wait, we were playing OSC, right?
Maybe it was.
Oh, my bad. No luck tokens.
The motherfucker was using Shadowdark rules in your OSC game. I'm just throwing that out there.
He got killed, so that's fine.
Yeah, well, that's probably why. What do you mean? Oh, okay, all right. I wanted to ask you. Okay, so a lot of your criticism is, how do I want to put this? Well, are story games inherently bad? Like, are they just bad games?
I don't know that I'd say they're not role-playing games like McCree says, but they're just a different game. You know, the board games are not bad games, but they follow different rules. They don't work in the same way.
So let me just stop you right there. Okay. So and you had some issues with The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Right. Well, could it be that, like, maybe you know some of the things you saw during that gameplay were a result of players not understanding what they were doing?
That's definitely possible. I think it was good that all the players had a consistent interpretation of things. The issue that I have with Walking Dead that I don't have with Alien is that there are these kind of swarm interactions where you're not rolling to kill a particular thing. You're rolling for like a general result of like stopping the swarm from getting through the door or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
It's like an environmental issue.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of the players were approaching it from I want to accomplish this specific thing.
Yeah.
And so that clashed somewhat with the system. Rob does a great job anyway, so I don't think it was a problem. But it does happen, and I think that's the kind of thing. Like, if you want to play every session of every game you ever play is Amber Diceless, and you're just negotiating things and just figuring it out like you're all part of an improv troupe, that's totally fine. But it's not what we're doing in playing OSC or playing.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And, that's kind of like I look back at that actual play, and I would love to do that again. I had a blast. It was so much fun. But you know, to evaluate what we did, I think where we failed was to your point that I don't think you're intending to make, but like what we really should have been doing was collaborating more. Because the way those encounters are supposed to work, you're given only a few skills that are available by virtue of the threat level.
Yep.
How close they are, right? If they're far enough away, you can use ranged attacks. If they're in your face, you can't use ranged attacks, for example, right? We should have been collaborating more to describe the scene. And then we roll our dice to see what happens. We really weren't doing that. We were actually playing it more like an OSR game. And that's one of the things that, like, I how do I want to put this? I think where some people stumble, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but like certainly certain people who've like made their career, oh my God, story games are fucking terrible. It's like, well, have you actually tried playing by their rules? Because if you play by their rules, you might enjoy them. You know,
one of the things, this, I don't want to get into politics or religion, but I'm just bringing up as an example. Like
real quick, I gotta highlight this. Mike, brother, good to see you. Thank you so much. This is fucking hysterical. With the Walking Dead stream, I thought the joke was seeing a bunch of OSR bros playing a story game. Yes, it was. It was
There's
hilarious.
a lot of situations where people are debating politics or religion where one side is almost entirely composed of people who used to be on the other side, right? Okay, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of people who are the way they are because they've played a ton of story games. I have. That's what I on the shelf behind me. The only story game is a copy of the little blue Fate booklet that I got from the guy who was the best man at my wedding. Like I used to play tons of games with that guy, and I played it. The reason why I stopped playing it is because, in my opinion, story games have a massive player skill problem, which is that once a player figures out how the system works hard mechanically, real like to the level that me and you guys understand a lot of the way the OSR chassis work, like seriously understand the mechanics, you begin to notice ways to exploit those mechanics. So one example is in Fate, when you're describing aspects of your character, a new person, they think in a non-mechanical way and they just start describing things. But a clever person who's played this a bunch of times, they will choose aspects that they will then in the game be able to interpret in all sorts of different ways, right? They will choose very broad aspects as they can, so that maximum interpretive value that they have. So when they get into a situation, they can argue for this or that. I'm a huge scrounger as a player. I'm always going, well, can I do that? Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? So I am just constantly looking for ways to write my aspect to be the broadest interpretation I can. And other players aren't doing that. So the skill gap between me and the other players becomes huge, right? And that's not good from a play perspective, right? I think it's actually also Macrease who uses this example sometimes. Candyland as a board game is absolutely horrible for adults, right? If five of us were sitting around and we had to play Candyland, it would be like fucking torture. Because Candyland is designed so that you cannot make tactical decisions in the game, because you're going to be playing with a grandparent and a parent and 5-year-olds,
right,
and little kids. So if you could make tactical decisions, you would just be crushing these little fucking kids. They would have no chance. So nobody gets to make tactical decisions. So your little kid has the same chance of winning Candyland as you. That doesn't mean Candyland is broken, right? It works within that framework, right? But if you have a story game and you have massive differences in player skills, that's not going to be good. You're going to have one person who just dominates the game. I saw it happen over and over and over again, and I was like, I can't play this shit anymore. I want to know if I am going to kill a zombie, I want to know what zombie I'm killing. I want to know what I'm doing to kill that zombie, and I want to know if it works.
You know what's funny? Hold on. Chubby,
go ahead,
what's hilarious is you're where I was about 3.5, 4 years ago. Maybe not that long, maybe more 2.5, 3 years ago when I first started playing OSC, because I had played a ton of story games. And I got to tell you, when you use Fate as an example, any point you try to make, I'm going to agree with. You know, Fate is the most Swiss cheese of all fucking rule books, you know, out there. It really is. It is designed to allow the players to really just do and be whatever, you know, it is that they want without limit. I was meaning to ask you though, and I never got a question of this. The first thing I asked is, does that make story games evil? But I want to rephrase that. Do you think story games have a place? What you call story games? Do you think they have a place with the right players and the right GM? Because I
think
had a
they
shit ton
could.
of fun with things that we call story games. I've had a great time.
Gary is my counter argument to the OSR's anti-story game mentality. Every time Gary has run a game that's quote unquote story game, I've had a blast.
Yep. Can you have fun playing flag football? Sure. Is anybody gonna consider that to
that's
be
not that's an unfair comparison.
Yeah.
And it's stacking the deck. The
if we
implication, of course, is that if you're playing flag football, you're not really playing football.
You're not really playing football. And I'm going to tell you
That's-
something, Chubby.
that's
If
what
we
I'm
were
saying,
in the
like-
bar,
No. It's a gross.
I would tackle you.
It's a terrible analogy.
The rules are fair. The only difference here is status.
You know what? I'm gonna reverse my thinking on that statement, the whole flag football thing. But I want to say something real quick. I understand where you're coming from with that, and I agree with the logic, the math of it, right? You've got fucking NFL, which is very technical. You're fighting for inches, right? There's a rule for goddamn everything. And then you got flag football where kids get a little bit more freedom and they get to
like where Gary's going with this.
So I'm good with that analogy. I really am. I don't think it makes it better or worse depending on who's there. Like there is something to, and this is how I find most story games are rules light games. And a lot of that I feel like is to get out of the way of role playing. So when you're looking at like the 4D guys who are really invested in being good players and being good role players, right? That's something that they really value. I don't think it's a lower form of game, but like a rules light game, just because it's rules light doesn't mean it's experience light. I don't think it might not be for the beginner.
But right? The reason why I said flag football is because when you're playing a story game, there is not maybe there's a small one, but challenge is not a huge component of the game, right? So when we're playing even in The Walking Dead, like we weren't gonna be proud of ourselves if we completed a particular thing. Whereas if you make your way through some huge mega dungeon and you're surviving an OSC up to level 8, level 9, like that is like serious success against a challenge, right? So there's the challenge dynamic is greatly lacking in.
I disagree with that 100%, 100%, because The Walking Dead, it's about survival. It's about we played a one shot. Okay, so we have to take that into consideration. The point of a Walking Dead, because it is like this, like sandbox. They actually do a nice job of teaching you how to build a sandbox.
I know. I have the book. I have the special edition of
it. You should make a video on it, okay? Because I'd love to see your opinion on like a detailed analysis, because like it's about survival, building your like haven, and like increasing influence depending on what the players want to do. Like I really think you're comparing apples and oranges here at this point. Well, I'm about to show some humility here. Everyone hit record.
Here we go.
Maybe story games are different from RPGs, because some of the stuff that you're talking about is just not present, and you're like to me you're like pissing in the wind. Like I'm sorry, bro, but like that's
fish.
not
fish.
What the RPG. That's not what the
same way that was about. Video games. If you play Crusader Kings versus Call of Duty, those are not the same. They're both video games. The goals and objectives, and they both people probably look down on each other. The people playing the Crusader Kings for 400 or 500
Okay,
years with
all
their
right.
family on
wanna know
hardcore
what's
mode.
really
But
fucking
fair
hilarious,
enough.
Chubby?
But fair enough. But you know what? You just opened yourself up to like this. Okay, so you just don't like story games.
Wait,
And that's fair enough. Like that's your preference. But like from my perspective, I want to know what makes a good story game a good story game and what's a bad story game a bad story game.
Well,
You see
you're
what I'm
hanging
saying?
out with the wrong people, then, my friend.
Oh no,
Okay.
I'm not, because
You
I
know,
got
I'm-
this guy. I got
Sorry.
this
Hey,
guy. I got
Chubby, you
this
know
guy.
what's funny about this whole fucking thing is that I was gonna put your name on the invitation list to a story game. This is like one of the most story games of all story games you can get, and I'm still gonna invite you. I'm still gonna invite
It
you.
depends
whether
on
you
the
show up or
details. I
not.
mean, I don't have any problem because I don't have anything at stake. I don't have anything I care about. It's not like
No, but you know
know.
what? I think it's one of those things. I think Matt was kind of hinting on it. Is that it's like going into a donut shop and saying, "Give me a donut," right? Like I don't think role playing games. I think the original role playing games and all of the games that mechanically kind of branch off of that thing. I think you can talk about those in generalities, but I think the concept, right? The concept of a role playing game is just bigger than that, right? It's not the same thing as it
Well-
was. There is the originator, and if
Well,
you're
it
talking about the
evolved.
originator, you
Let-
do
allow
this
me
shit.
to allow me to say, the name. What is the name? Role playing, right?
Yes.
What is role playing? It's when you are occupying a character within the world. You're not the author of the world. You're a character in the world, right? Story game. The reason why Macrease, I'm sure he would agree with this interpretation if he was here. The reason why he doesn't consider them to be role-playing games is as soon as you gain authorship power over the world, you're no longer role-playing the character. You're role-playing either an
Okay.
observer or the
Yes.
author of the world.
That's fair.
And that is the
Bro,
problem.
that's fair. That's fair. And if that's the definition, I think I'll give it to you. I don't think Karma in Easy D6 is world defining.
Oh, like I
And
said,
I'm
I
not
think you can have
sure.
one-off mechanics, and it's okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that the triumph mechanic that I explained earlier is world defining because it's only for that event in that environment, right? It's not like you can roll a triumph and say Vader turns to the good side. You know what I mean? It's not like you can
Yeah,
just
but I
manipulate.
guarantee
I think
that if Gary, I'll let you go, Matt. Just say, I guarantee that if me and you and somebody who's never played it before play that game, me and you are going to come up with way more useful triumphs
Truth.
than that noob.
Truth. I don't
Okay.
think that rules
Yeah,
light.
right,
I
Matt,
don't think that
right.
story games or that rules light games are necessarily the best games for beginners.
I was going to say though, like, what do we mean by world defining, and what do we mean by
That's what I open with, man. Like,
that
is there
layer-
a sword
that layer-
in this box or not?
Well, yeah, but like I don't think
It's
the story games, that the successful ones anyway, and I think this is an important point. I don't think they create that list of horribles that you've outlined, or that in light of Alexander Macrease's like definition, like having a ricochet that destroys a bunch of TIE fighters isn't world defining. It's just a cool fucking thing that happened. Right.
yeah.
And it's narrative and it's awesome. And the players and when I say players, I'm including the game master at this point, are all like, yeah, that's fucking awesome. And then they keep going. Right. Like, if anything is like violative of the OSR method in what you seem to be defining, it's what the fucking BroSR do when you have players saying, well, this is what's happening in this hex because you made me a patron.
Oh,
Right?
My number one objection to BroSR type stuff is that I don't think it's the same. Like when they try to talk to people on Twitter as if we're playing the same game.
Oh, they're
and
not.
my rebuttal is we're just not playing the same game. Like
I agree.
I think that what they're doing is perfectly fine. I got no problem with it. It's just not the same thing as playing.
I agree.
I
with
agree.
that.
I agree with
that.
you, Chubby.
Yeah.
I really do. My point is, shit. What the fuck was my point? I don't know. I've been drinking too much.
That's all right. I need to address Atmos real quick, because Atmos was in our row campaign. And he said weakness of story games, but the weakness of story games, The Shadow and the Mad Scientist, sorry, was awesome in that campaign compared to the rest. And you know what, Atmos, I agree, but I'm gonna say something to you and to Legacy. I was very forthright in what this game world was and how it worked, and you guys decided that you were going to approach it as either, as I think Legacy approached it as an OSR gamer, and I don't know. I honestly don't know what you were thinking, because I said, dude, there's no heroes with masks. There's no this, this hasn't happened yet. It's the 1920s. And because you chose to play against type, like, I honestly didn't know what to do with you. I had no fucking clue what to do with you. You could, there were like, if the game would have gone further into the mob stuff, I don't know. I don't know what I would have done with you, man. I don't know, the whole mask thing I didn't get. Like, I was really, I was like, what the fuck, bro? I didn't know what to do with you. So, Melkor's character definitely took a back seat.
I don't think he did.
You don't think?
No, he was
I don't
like
think
the
that
guy who was like, he was.
I don't think I paid near enough attention to him.
No, he was like the wizened character, like, who had all the knowledge. Like, he was like the one making the fucking rolls.
Yeah,
who to tell us,
that's
like, oh,
true.
this magical shit was going on.
At most, you say too many peeps, and you know what? You may be right there, because when I watch Crispy's games, and those are real heavy role-playing games, they typically almost always have 3, maybe sometimes 4 players. So
yeah, but is that
I don't know much about the game you're describing, but
face rip.
Let me add in here. With when I was running these live plays the past couple weeks on Monday nights, with Erudite and Tim Shorts and the guys, there's a guy on there named Ken, and Ken, I love him. I'm not criticizing him. He is just the kind of guy who's like, well, I'll be in the back of the marching order. I'll wait, and then I'll let other people decide which path we're going down the dungeon and what we're doing, and then I'll come in and I'll do stuff. Right. Everybody has a player like that they play with.
Right.
That's no problem. When I switched it over to always on Shadow Dark Initiative, and it came up, you go. He was so much more involved than I've ever seen in any other thing. Now, that is a result that shift is moving it to where player skill is being tapped into every single time. He can't free ride on anybody else's thing. He has to make the decision for himself right there. So he's much more involved. When you have big differences in player skill, you get that kind of thing where one person dominates the decisions because they're the one who just wants to move forward fast enough. They're the one who wants to do the thing, and they end up dominating. And the reason why I have, like, my biggest criticisms of these things is that when there's a mechanic where the one player is able to just massively use it in a mechanical way that other people can't, like, when I was responding to Gary about how many times are we going to be able to come up with a good interpretation of that blaster ricochet versus somebody else, right? Anything like that, it becomes cumulative and it just starts adding up, and then it results in a few people having a very different experience than the other people. Yes. And I would rather have mechanics be designed in a way to maximize everybody at the table, not just the people that are really good at this. So that when you were saying Melchior got short into the stripped or whatever, like, that's what I was thinking in my head. Like, we should design it so everybody is operating at the same level.
I actually do agree with that most criticism of that. But I do agree with it. The only but that I have is I do think there were some people who, like that one guy you were talking about, who kind of is in the back of the marching order. I do, and that's sort of a real life personality trait. But that being said, I do think Atmos is correct. That Melkor especially, there was more that I could have done. Here's the real problem with story games, right? Is that everybody has their own story. And I think you almost have to have a mechanic for that. Like, I'm in love with the obligation system from Edge of the Empire.
Yeah.
And if I can find a way to work that into this next game I'm running, that's the only reason I haven't sent invitations out, is because I'm still trying to figure out if I can find a way to make that work, because it gives a mechanical incentive to this sort of outside role playing. And I'm at the point now where it's like, I want games that have a story. I want an emergent story. But at the same time, if you don't have some sort of mechanical incentive like XP, right, it kind of falls apart. I do agree with that. Here's the thing. I don't think you can ever forget that it is a game. It's not a bunch of guys sitting around telling stories. It's a game.
Well, sure, yeah,
And you want to win points, and you want to gain levels and all that. And I think that's the biggest problem with a lot of story games. You know what I mean? I think they turn into more of an excuse for friends to get together, and usually it's a GM who thinks he'd be a great novelist.
I think it's like
I agree with that.
Yeah. I think it's like the flip side, right? Like the OSR, I say OSR, but like classic gaming, it's about the world, it's about your character in the world and the rules, like blah blah blah. It's about the world. With story games, it's about the narrative. It's that story arc. It's whatever it is that you're dealing with, and both the game master and the players are subordinate to it. And I think it's hard for people to really, I think it's harder for people to grasp that than it is the campaign world, because the campaign world allows for this like emergent story thing to happen in your mind, where you're still being this like person, and it's like still like feeding your ego. Where I think with story games, you really got to sublimate and subdue any egoistic impulses. So like I don't want to say like story games are some sort of elitist thing, because I don't think that at all. But I do think like a good story game is going to require like extreme player buy-in, 100%.
Yeah. And
so
I don't want to turn this into a gender thing either, but I think that you can
please do
very clear gender distribution between story games and role-playing games. And I think that tells you a lot about what people are looking to get out of their experience. It goes back to, there's just a fundamental thing. If you look at baby monkeys, they do the same thing. If you give baby monkeys dolls and wheeled vehicle toys, the boy monkeys will pick up the wheeled vehicle toys and roll them around all over the place, and the girl monkeys will pick up the doll and want to play it. Now, I'm not saying that to diminish either side.
Right.
There's things that people want out of the game. I played in a Vampire the Masquerade game at North Texas with Nick
from Black Lodge
guy, Nick, and he ran it perfectly fine from both of the perspectives I'm about to say. But there were 2 men at the table and there were 2 women at the table. And the 2 women were very concerned with all of the social conversations and everything. And the 2 men were very concerned with killing specific people in a very specific way. And we came up with plan. He invented a plan to use a Cybertruck to kill people. I combined that with me luring the guy in, and I had a submachine gun, and then we killed the guy in the very specific way. And that was our focus the whole time, was on the reality of the physical space, right?
Right.
And the women were worried about the conversations and the personalities and people talking to each other. Neither approach is correct, right? It's just, what do you want out of the game? And I want out of the game to hit that fucking vampire with the Cybertruck and then set him on fire and shoot him with my machine gun. That's what I wanted out of the game.
I don't see any controversy with that.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
I want
to
kill vampires with Cybertrunks and fire.
But I also
it was awesome, man. It was awesome.
I think there's so. Oh, excuse me. So, oh my God, I've drank too much tonight.
Yes.
I agree, and I typically am always looking.
I had some of this.
I've had way too much of this.
Chubby, we need to have a talk.
Yeah, you don't drink nearly enough. No, but I do like the big action stuff, and I find that when I'm a player, and I think it's if you're a GM, all this forever GM shit, you got to cut that out. Go be a player, even if it's only occasionally, so that you understand what you like and understand what other people are gonna like. And I know that as a player, I want to roll fucking dice. I want high stakes, but I also want it to make sense, right? Like, not all combat is a fail state. You know what I mean? It's not. That's kind of an odd way to look at it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. As much as I do think there are people who want to play Critical Role, right? They don't want to play a role-playing game. They want to act out their characters and they want to do the thing. And you are correct.
Yeah.
But I think in a story game, players really
there's a great example of this that just happened. The Glass Cannon Network show did their live play of the Shadowdark. And there was a huge watch party on Kelsey's Discord. And I clicked into that. And I went into the chat for the game. On YouTube, and I was hoping that there would be something that happens and I could make like comments about it, whatever, and it would be a way to like boost my own brand type stuff, and whatever. And it was so much narration of what the players were even just introducing themselves that. At a certain point, I just I got glassy eyed and had to just step away. I'm like, I'd rather go do something productive. I ended up writing a bunch of stuff about Strahd and doing a video on Strahd. So like, there's just different strokes for different folks. Well, that's cool. If you want your game to be theater kid stuff where you're describing all this shit, then hey, go for it.
No, actually, Chubby, one of the things when I was just hearing you talk like that, one of the things that really popped into my mind is that in these so-called story games, right? I don't want anything to be up to the GM's discretion, right? Like I want there to, so, and this is probably coming from that whole Edge of the Empire Genesis thing, where there is a social mechanic. You know, there are story effects, but they're mechanical, right? Like, it's not like anything is up to the GM to decide, oh, he role played real good, so this is what's going to happen. It comes down to a die roll or a series of die rolls. You know, it's not just some arbitrary thing. And I do think that if you can incorporate mechanics into those interactions, it makes a big difference. Does that make sense, or if I drank too much?
No, I agree. It goes back to I think that the GM needs to be the one, and for me to be happy, let's say with that caveat, right. For me to be happy, the GM, even if it's not me, it's some GM, whoever, Rob, they need to be able to interpret what is the likely outcome based on either the die roll or what they think. You know, if we were at that resort, if I said to Rob, hey, I'm going to look around and see if I can find a winch and a cable and a tow hook, right? He makes a decision. Do I think there's a winch and a cable and a tow hook? No. Okay, so then he just tells me, and I'm fine with that as GM fiat, you know, whatever. It's his interpretation. But as soon as you start introducing roles where we're going to determine whether that thing exists, we're going to determine how this is it's not going to be the GM's judgment.
Right.
It's going to be based on a die outcome. that's where I start to say this is a problem. That's all.
But
You
my
think
line.
it's
we're
a
still
problem to
talking.
have those mechanics?
Yeah, but yeah, I was just gonna
Oh,
say
hang
like,
on.
no, because I no, because
No,
like,
what did Gary had a follow up? What
go
what
ahead,
is it,
go ahead.
Gary?
Well, here's the thing. The difference between a game and a story game, right? Like a story game, you're just kind of, it's loose, right? There's a lot of things where the GM decides, right? One of the things that always bothered me about D&D is that charisma rolls were judged differently than strength rolls. Like, I'm not going to make a motherfucker do 20 push-ups before he makes his strength roll, but before you make your charisma roll, you got to give some Oscar award-winning fucking performance. Get the fuck out of here, right? So what I'm saying is, if those social interactions, if you take them as more of, so here's the thing, in a drama, everybody acts out the shit they're gonna do, and they say the things, and then they roll the dice. What if you say, I'm gonna try to convince, in OSR style, I'm gonna try to convince this person of something. You roll the dice and then narrate from the result, just like you would in
has a
combat.
perfect example for that, but I want Matt to be able to say whatever he wanted to say, and then I'll tell you Macrease's answer.
I think he's gone on to something else.
Okay,
Go
okay.
ahead.
So Macrease's answer is that you say whatever you want.
Yeah.
You roll the dice, and then the dice determine how they interpret it.
Right.
Right.
Word.
So I will give you a piece of lore about my grandmother. My grandmother is she is a very, or was, she's deceased now, very conservative woman. And back in the September 11th aftermath days, I said something about the FISA court, and I said, this has been on the books since Carter. And she said, Jimmy Carter, he's not president anymore. Who cares what the rule is? Right? I'm like, okay, like we live in a world of laws that exist beyond 20-year time frame or whatever, right? But that kind of thing, that kind of thinking of like, I could have said anything to her and she was going to go, well, I don't care. It was Jimmy Carter, right? Like I could have made the most eloquent case on earth for why we should have a FISA court, right? And she wouldn't give a shit, right? So it doesn't matter. My role determined whether she was going to listen to me or not.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Like,
it doesn't matter what I said. It matters how she interpreted what I said.
Yeah, and like, and that's the thing that I think a lot of critical role types who are brought into the OSR have to realize. You could pontificate, you could have a great accent, you can have a great whatever, but what's going to determine what happens is the 2d6 roll plus your charisma, and we look at the reaction chart. That's what's going to determine what happens.
Word.
Yeah.
And I how do I want to say this? Like, I want players to do that. Like, I want them to be like, oh, I'm doing this and I say this and ha acting, because it's fun for the table, but the dice roll tell the story.
Yep.
But like when we're looking at a story game, though, the acting comes after the die roll. That's what I've been seeing. Going back to the Star Wars thing, going back to the Walking Dead thing, we roll. If you succeed, what does it mean? Well, acting. That's what that means. If it fails, what does that mean? Sad acting. Like that's what it should mean, right?
And Matt, you like, may be onto something there. I don't know. I haven't considered your point with respect to all the different story game chassis, but I mean, like that seems to be a fair enough point.
Hang on,
but it goes back, but it goes down to like what the players are willing to buy into.
We're in the fucking weeds. Here's the thing.
I don't know.
Does story story emerges if you're playing a D&D style game. Then story emerges as your character explores, goes through the dungeon, does those things, right? We talk about an emergent story. I think in a story game, you can kind of follow that same code. The difference is, this is what a story game is to me anyway. All right. I don't really care too much about the mechanical aspect of whether the characters are having an effect on the world. For some reason, that doesn't bother me as much as it does you. But to me, what a story game is that you guys are going to, just like a D&D game, you guys are going to get together every week or every 2 weeks. Your characters are going to kind of try to do the things they want to do. And the difference is there are going to be things happening in the world that draw the characters' attention and actions to them, right? Like you have to have a certain amount of player buy-in that if I drop a bunch of clues or a thing happens, those characters are going to look into that thing, right? How they reach the goal, how they find the bad guy, how they foil the big bad, that's all up to them. But you kind of bait it. It's like, does that, you understand what I'm trying to say? It's a no, I don't either.
Sorry.
But what I'm saying is you introduce story elements. You introduce things that happen and the players follow the lead.
Would you tolerate it in a sport? How much player control over interpretation of the rules are you going to allow?
I'm not talking about the rules. I'm just talking about gameplay. We start the game.
Okay. Was that a penalty kick in or out? Should the player decide
this
whether
is not a sport, because the sport is a war game, and RPGs are not exactly a war game.
You're right. I'm just saying that there's analogy.
Gotcha, boy. I got your back, Gary. I got your back.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
The referee in the sport is not interpreting, reality, but they are making the decision about how the rules are going to be. So, like, if you hit the ball out in tennis and the guy doesn't catch that it was out, then technically it gets played as if you made the hit.
No. If the rules dictate that the ball was out, then the ball is out. It's just a matter of interpretation. And this is like part of my point with some, not all, some story games is like with the OSR, it's a little more granular, a little bit more procedural. Whereas like story games, it's more abstract, where like the procedure gets subsumed and assumed. And that's why I think Gary's got a great point when he says rules light doesn't mean what was it, rules experienced, whatever.
Experience light.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant point, one that we should put on a t-shirt that we will sell. But but I think that's a great point, because the rules, I don't want to say rules light, because not all rules light games are narrative. The story game has a different focus versus what is OSR, because OSR is clearly rooted in wargaming. Wargaming is about a zero-sum outcome. Like, we are going to win. We are going to win this by combat. We're going to win this by sneaking away and running, or we're or like social encounter, and we got dice rolls to figure it out. That's the point. That is that is what's happening with this encounter. Who's winning this? The story game, it's different. It's like, how does this advance the narrative? And I say this because I'm not the guy to defend story games, because I'm not, you know what I mean? But I'm trying to defend them here.
Well, I don't.
You know what I mean?
A good definition. I don't even think the problem with saying story games is it. Chubby's definition when we first started talking about this was a game where the players have some sort of control over the world, right?
I
don't think they have that level of control, though.
But I was gonna say I don't.
They don't have absolute control.
Well, not only that, my definition of story game is completely different. Because my definition of story game is really comes down to I'm going to lay out a bunch of bait for you guys, and I really hope you take one of these hooks. You know,
that's not related to the story game definition, like from people like what is it, GSR theory, whatever, like where it's narrativists, narrativist,
GNS,
simulationist, gamist, whatever.
I don't. What you think?
You're way outside of bounds on theory, bro. Come on.
I'm not a theorist, bro. I buy shit and I play it. You know what I mean? That is as far as it gets. But
you can call it whatever you want. I'm just saying, like, that is what a story game is when you have the ability to control the story. And
sure, but then I don't think that many role-playing games really fall under the definition of story game. I think a lot less.
I could send you 15 PDFs tonight.
Well, no, what I'm saying though is like there are games that I considered story games. Like, for example, say Tales from the Loop. Is that a story game? I
don't have enough experience with that particular game.
Okay. I guess the only real difference between it's the Year Zero engine. There's not really combat rules, but you can be broken psychologically, right?
Yeah.
And you got to take scenes with your anchor, who is an NPC. Yeah, there's some mechanical. I don't know, dude.
There's anchors in Walking Dead also. So
yeah.
I just as a general statement, I think my experience for the past 2 months making the dungeon analysis videos has really made it clear to me how much people talk about stuff without ever having actually read what it says on the page. Right. And that's just, I mean, I kind of knew that in an abstract sense, but it's one thing when you have literally read the exact 36 pages of the module and somebody offers some opinion about something and you're like, that's not in there at all. Like, you're imagining that. Like, people come to games, modules, all this stuff with huge amounts of assumptions about how it works. And I've been guilty of that. And so I'm trying to start to be like, I just don't know enough about that particular game. Now, I have played enough story games that I feel like I can talk about the genre. And if we wanted to get into any particular game that I have played or read about, then that's cool. But I just think the degree to which the players have the ability to have some mechanic where they take over, right? That is, I've just seen personally tons of abuse of those mechanics. I've seen tons of player skill disagreement. All kinds of bad play that results in that. I could give you an hour-long rant about partial failures sucking ass as a game mechanic solution. All kinds of ways that these they try to come up with some way that they think will work, and there's a huge difference between theory and what's written in the book, and there's a huge difference between what's written in the book and actual practical use of what's written in the book.
Oh, I agree with you.
And a lot of times people move between those different levels of analysis, and it's impossible to keep straight.
And if you got a great thumbnail, it'll get you YouTube clicks. No, you're not wrong, Chubby. Like, seriously, like I'm with you on there. Like, any pushback that I give you tonight is me playing devil's advocate for the purposes of elucidating points and whatnot. Like, I do agree with you. I'm just not willing to, like some people who are prominent names in the OSR, I'm not willing to just discount the story game. I'm just not, because again, I look at my co-host who has run some fantastic games that are technically story games. And
by Chubby's definition, they're not story games.
Well, I'm not subscribing to his definition. I'm just saying the common, in the parlance of our times, like
parlance.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I want to know. I think
I'm
an
innocent.
interesting question is why? Okay, like why was that fun, right? Certain people in the industry will say they won't even get to that point. They'll see the what. Oh, it's a story game. Fuck it, it sucks.
Well, I
And
think
then they'll say there's something wrong
Walking
with
Dead
you.
game was a great example of how you can have fun even if it's not your thing. But Greg Gillespie did say to me, like, I have limited amount of time in life. I can't play every game.
Oh,
I have a thing that I think is the best,
yeah.
and that's what I'm going to do.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. But that's a totally subjective thing, right? Like, and that's distinct from like what I'm saying. Like, there's people out there saying objectively this is bad, and I reject that. And I point to my co-host. Like, I have. You cannot tell me my lived experience is objectively like bad or whatever by virtue of the fact I lived it. Like, it was fun, it was good. And I think the more intellectually curious question is why? And some of these people will not ask that question. You know what I mean? And
I think I've said to you before that I think that one of the problems we have in this industry, it's weird to call it an industry. It's really not that big of an industry.
Well, it is though. It is.
Community, let's say.
I prefer industry over community, but okay.
The more important people from a social perspective are people who have produced and created and done things. That's just the way it is in life and a lot of things, right? The people who get a lot of attention are generally people who have, even if what they're created is like a live play, like at least they've created that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what, those are the nodes that things get built around.
If you're going to broaden it. Okay.
Yeah. And so those people, in order to, I'll use Critical Role as an example to go against my normal experience. So in order to make Critical Role, they had to consider a huge range of ideas and reject almost all of them in order to get down to what they decided to do, right? Because when you make stuff, that's what you have to do. Yeah, I use the Steve Jobs quote all the time. Focus is saying no. Focus is saying, I'm not going to do all this other stuff. I'm going to do this one thing, because we're all interested in a lot of stuff. So you got to reject everything else and only do the one thing. And then they created Critical Role, right? In order to do something like that, you have to be very disagreeable and be able to reject things. People that are super agreeable agree to everything, and then it all gets diluted, right? So the people who rise to the top are extremely disagreeable people who have very strong opinions about this is the way to do the thing. And then when those people go on social media, it turns into a fucking bloodbath. Right? That's right. What happens.
Oh no, you're right, and that's a great that's a great business model to try to, like, you know, make money off of YouTube. And I agree with you on if that's your goal. But if the goal is to actually produce content that is thought provoking, I don't know if that's necessarily the way to go. In order
to produce content that's thought provoking, you have to reject all kinds of content that's not thought provoking, right? So the guy who becomes
that is a very broad. That's like in order to accept the number 2, you have to reject everything that's not 2.
That's correct.
Of course. That's what
I'm saying. So
that's not
there's
profound.
Going to be some guy who's making thought-provoking content, but he's going to be very disagreeable.
You misunderstand. Yeah, I think you misunderstand the point. But regardless, I just think that there's an interesting question here that has never truly been embraced by, like, the quote-unquote OSR indie community, and that is, like, why are there this small group of I don't know what the size is. I'm going to say small. Why are these group of people that are, like, really into story games? Why is there these 4-dimension guys? Like, why? Like, no one's really tackled that except for the 4D guys. And we should, like, look at them. And, like, I'm not advocating. I'm not saying that this is the right way.
To your deep analysis of these issues, Matt.
Yeah, but that's my
I
point.
disagree with calling any of these things story games if we're using Chubby's definition.
But
Just
I'm
so
not.
you know.
I'm not accepting any definition at this point. My point is, like, we got to ask the question why, and there's people who are not even willing to do that. So, but I got to stop here because we're like 6 minutes away from 2:00, and I told people I was gonna do like this whole like costume contest, and I got a whopping 2 people. Oh, I'm sorry, 3. And we got the 3rd person on the stream. I'm going to hold his feet to the fire. To actually do the, but like, look, like people, like I want to build a community here. So like, I'm serious. So like, I'm just going to like throw these guys up. Let me see here. Where is it? We're not going to, give me a second here. We're not going to bother with the judgments. We're really not. But what we are going to do is I'm going to show them, I'm going to highlight them, I'm going to say thank you for participating, and then I'm going to contact you privately, and let's see, where am I? And let you pick from
anything on his bookshelf. It's yours, including that bar of gold. It's hidden in there somewhere.
That's
I dare
not,
you to find it.
It's not true. Okay. All right. So this is our boy Melkor and his wife. I fucking love it, man. This is great. I fucking love it. I'm gonna be sending you a pic, free, on me. I'll send it to you. Okay. The next one is, let's see. How does this work? What the fuck? Hold on a second. Why is it doing that? Hold on a second. Let me try again. All right. Well, it's got Chubby's dog. Okay, I'll share that. Like, I was like, this is a great costume, dude. You look just like your dog.
That's great.
But thank you. Your dog's cute. I'm trying to, like, Flint sent a picture, and for some reason it's not like popping up. Give me one more. Let me try this.
Oh, Gary's gonna play us a song. You got some Halloween tunes,
I just need
bro?
something to fiddle with. I'm reaching that point of my I've been sitting down for 2 hours.
There he is.
Oh, Flint.
Flint. I love it. Thanks, bro. I'm so glad you guys sent me some pics. Yeah, I'll send you guys some a picture of like this pile of books that I'm like getting ready to throw on eBay because they're indie games and established games that I'm just never gonna run. I've come to this realization. I went through the 5 stages of grief. I'm like, it's just not gonna happen. So it's free of charge. I'll pay for the shipping. I'll reach out to you guys and get your addresses. I appreciate you guys sending me the pics. It was a lot of fun. So anyway, happy Halloween, Gary.
Happy Halloween,
Chubby. Aside from how horribly wrong you are, no, I'm just kidding. Actually,
what's crazy is I agree with Chubby.
I do agree on a lot
because here's the thing, Chubby. You got to understand where I agree with you. We're gonna go a couple minutes over. I want to turn. Yeah,
I'm kidding.
I want to turn all that social interaction and all that critical role yappity yap bullshit. I want that to be mechanical, right? I don't want anything to be like, as a game master, I just decided this would be cool, right?
You already have that though.
Or your charisma, you acted that scene out so well, I'm going to give you a +3 to that role, right? I think that's bullshit. I want to stick to what the rules are, but it's kind of like politics in your game, right? Like if you were playing a Game of Thrones themed kind of thing and there was a lot of social interaction there, you want it to matter, right? You understand what I'm saying? Like I don't want it to be arbitrary.
Gary,
I want there to be a mechanic for these things.
have you played Pendragon?
No, dude, but I want to buy it.
Okay, I have it. I have never played it because it's very demanding from a like getting people together and say I don't have a group. I already have all my time with all these other things. It's a game I want to play eventually. But in Pendragon, you have, I think this is a really great mechanic. You have virtues that are on a 20-point scale.
Right.
So let's say that you're Gary Lewis's Knight of the Round Table, and he has a chastity score of 5. That's very low. So every time he's tempted on the chastity element, he has to roll a 5 or less. Whereas Matt has a chastity of 18. And so every time chastity comes up, he's like, I'm unaffected, right? Okay. But Matt might have a virtue related to something else that's his weakness, right? I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but it's all of the kind of classical virtues of Arthur's court, right?
Right.
And so every kind of knight in the fiction represents like one extreme or the other of these virtues. But if they're randomly determined on the 20-point scale, and then you're rolling it, they can also be reversed. So when there's like you're not trying to resist it, you're trying to do something, you're rolling in the other direction on this same virtue, right? So there's all sorts of stuff you can do with that, but human interaction is way more complex than hit you with stick, right? Okay, like it's just way more complex.
No, I agree. Yeah.
That's the problem. I had a situation in Gods of the Forbidden North just I think 2 or 3 weeks ago where I used charm on a player and they didn't make their saving throw. And whenever there's that situation, I always kind of doubt myself a little. It's like I don't want to do this in a malicious way. I want to actually do it. What would the person casting charm want out of this situation, right? And they were in a situation where it was a fight, and there was a huge pit. They're in Fort Eichenvar. For anybody familiar with the module, there's water everywhere, and they're on the kind of bridge part that's broken. And so I just had her say, "Dive in the water," right? And so the character just dives in the water. He's in full plate.
Oh, yep.
Okay, and I felt bad about that, but the sorceress casting the spell wanted that guy to die, right? Truth. So she said, "You jumped in the water," and he jumped in the water.
That is an interesting conundrum. Would the warrior wearing plate mail realize what that meant? So it is what it is. Interesting. Because the spell actually reads like a character is not going to like commit suicide. You know what I mean? Interesting. Because like I've run into this controversy where about the issue of possession in games. And it's been in my experience when like a character is possessed, it's for a limited time.
Let me interrupt you just a second. I just remembered. I actually told her. She said, "Come jump across the bridge thing to me."
And okay.
He just wasn't going to be able to make it. So sorry, I just remembered that. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Oh, that's a great way to get around it, right? Right, like come to me, and then the plate mill guy runs and like splash. Like, no, that's brilliant.
But I agree, possession is an equally problematic issue.
Well, yeah, I got in a lot of trouble a couple weeks ago about it with the story gamers. But a lot of OSR guys were privately messaging me, like giving me, like, no, we agree with you. But yeah, like, and yeah, I don't know. Because there's so many spell effects that technically take away player agency.
Yep.
Possession, though, is like complete, right? Like Magic Jar has been cast on your character. You failed to save. the GM is now in control. You
Yep.
know, so, yeah. So we got a super chat, and I guess I owe you $5, Chubby. Robert Staten, $5 for Chubby.
It's okay. I donate it to the show.
Chubby is rolling in what we call shadow bucks.
Shadow bucks.
Yeah. If you guys, I'm sure you know who he is. If you're on the show, you certainly know who he is. Chubby has gotten some great books written for Shadow Dark. Please go check them out.
Shadow City.
I have two books that are getting close to Mithril.
That's fantastic.
For the first time ever.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah. That's really awesome. I'm running Gods of the Forbidden North, but one of my players just discovered Shadow Dark about a year ago. And he's like, oh my God, you're so right, dude. And this is a hardcore 5e player, right? It's like, you're so right. I love 5e, or I love Shadow Dark, blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him and I'm like, there's this game called Shadow Rim. I want to show you, but I'm not going to, because I really want to play Gods of the Forbidden North. If I show you Shadow Rim, you'll want to play that. So, and that's written by Chubby. Please
Shadow
go
Rim
check.
is my favorite child of.
It's a great dude. Yeah. That's a really great world. Like, you did a great, and I didn't play Skyrim. I didn't, but I love it. Like, it's good. It's good. You did a great job.
That you've done, Chubby, is Shadow City. I don't know how you feel about it. That is my favorite, flat out. And
with everything I write, so far this has held true for every single book. There's a period of time where I'm looking at it so much that when it finally comes out, I'm like, thank God I don't have to work on that anymore. And I walk away from it.
I'm the same way.
So in like 6 months after it comes out, then I'm like, all right, let's go back and look at that again. But like right after it's released, it's almost like, are we still talking about this, guy?
Do you hate Shadow City right now?
You know what I mean? Like, because even though it's just published for you, like I've been staring at this for like 6 months.
Yep.
Like,
when you finally get to the point where you can look at it again, just know that we need hunters and we need witches.
Well, Todd,
werewolves, necromancers.
Oh yeah, werewolves. Yeah.
Todd asked me to run a live stream of it. He wanted to play in, so I may eventually do that. Run one as a live stream, and bring a bunch of people together to play it on VTT. I don't know. I got so much going on.
Oh man,
it's crazy. My schedule.
You highly motivated people in your multiple projects. God damn, dude. I don't know how y'all wake up every day and face the world.
Well, I'm writing. I didn't like. I said this before, but I don't think people believe me. But like most of the stuff I'm writing, it's not because I've rationally chosen to do it. Mm-hmm. It is that it is an unstoppable force that is emerging out of my head. So doing all of the dungeon analysis videos made me come up with all of these dungeon ideas, and I had to start writing dungeons just to get them out of my head. You know, so that's just the reality. So I'm working on like 150 room dungeon right now. We're just throwing in idea after idea after idea after idea, and it's going to be kick-ass. It's I posted the map on Twitter, but it's this huge like cathedral type structure with this like massive interior space. And so once you get into that interior space, you can move anywhere. Like it's hugely open structure. And there's 3 different factions in there that are going for all this stuff. So every time I have an idea, I just open up the file and just start pouring in more ideas into this dungeon. But I don't think you can sit down and read, 15 dungeon modules and not come up with tons of your own idea. Like that's just the way it is. So like I have to just ride out whatever the muse sends out my head. You know, that's just
yeah. Well, that's like kind of like what I was saying earlier. Like there's no there really isn't a way to like, I don't know, go get a college degree or whatever. You just got to play the game and you got to like work at it and just like really think about and analyze and self-critique, because the self-critique of your games will help you understand like what worked, what didn't, you know what I mean? And that's what I really like about some of your YouTube channel recent videos, analyzing, well, even like that Alien module that I own and I've never run.
Have you run it? Oh
no, I haven't run yet. I haven't run it yet.
But did you see what I'm saying? Like it is so complex.
Oh yeah. Like
managing
the reason why I haven't run it was like I got to learn the system first before I even feel comfortable looking at this. And I got a couple of my friends who are like, we really want you to run Alien, like a full-on campaign. I'm like, hold on, like Jesus Christ. And so like I really like your video on that because it's like helping me. But that's the kind of thing, like you got to just play. You got to just play. If you're a game master and you're new, forget what Gary said, forget what I said, forget what Chubby said. Fuck it. Just pick up your dice and start fucking running the game. You're going to make mistakes, and that's cool, and that's fine. Learn from them. Right. You know what I mean?
Well, and here's another thing. One of my favorite writers, one of my favorite comic book writers, one time I remember somebody asking him, what's the least favorite thing that you wrote? And he said, listen, I'm not going to answer that question because what if it's somebody's favorite, right? And then, and then all of a sudden I ruined that for them, a lot of the things that we've talked tonight, we've been playing these games for 30 years, right? We get caught up in the minutia of things. When you get a kid that's playing or somebody hasn't been playing for a while and you get a good GM, I think system doesn't matter a whole lot. I don't know. I mean, we're a part of a community and most people have their gaming group, right? And I don't want to tell a whole group of people, hey, you're wrong,
You soft-hearted wuss.
No, he's not wrong. No, Gary's.
I am a bit soft-hearted. I'm sorry.
No, it's not soft-hearted at all. No, Gary's fucking defend your position, brother.
I'm too all right,
I'll do it. That's why I get paid $3.50 an hour. Like, look, Gary's not wrong, and I'll tell you why. When you're a game master, you are also a game designer, because you have a particular group of people that is unique to you. Whatever it is that they're into, whatever it is that you're into, whatever kind of like game system you're like toying with, there's all these questions you got to answer. Fucking go for it. You're gonna make mistakes, and that's cool. I want you to make those mistakes. I want you to be, but because through those mistakes you're going to be creative. I want you to be creative. I'm something you said about like the young people, like my son, he's interested in RPGs, but like he's not. It's like, it's weird because like he's really into like video games. Earlier this week, I'm just like, I finally like you want to play Baldur's Gate? So we loaded that up on the Xbox. My kid is like all of a sudden glued, and he's all of a sudden talking about encumbrance, and I'm like, I finally found the language to speak to him about like what it is to play a role-playing game. You know what I mean? So,
well, hey, here's the thing. I don't think me and Chubby are in disagreement because by Chubby's definition, I'm not running story games.
I think you are.
I don't think I am.
Well, because my son
it's fine.
It's dungeon fine. Recently, Matt. 7 rooms. Pulled the random off of the What About generator.
Okay.
And he started writing ideas because he his desk is right here, right, and he listens to me record the audio for all of my videos on
Oh,
YouTube.
that's cool. That's
so
cool.
He's sitting there listening to me describe room after room after room, and he's like, I gotta write something myself, and he's putting pen to paper. So
That's fantastic. I wish my son's friends were more into the game. Like, he's the only one that's really out of his gaming group that's into it. So like, and you know, and he's an only child, right? So like, it's just like me and him putting pen to paper. It's fun, whatever, but like, he's like really into video games. So like, I'm really excited the fact that like we've been playing Baldur's Gate together, where like we hand the controller back and forth. And I go, oh, it's time to decide what our character does. And I hand it over to him. What are we doing? You know? And then when it comes to like the combat, I'm an advisor. I'm like, so make sure you hit pause. Hold on a second. It's like, who can do what? Let's think about this. And so like, it's been fun. And you know, it just comes down to like, you know, as a parent, you just got to go to where your kids are. You know what I mean? So like he's loving it. Like, he's really enjoying it more so than I've ever seen sitting down at the table rolling dice. And I think that's going to help him get it such that when it's time to sit at the table again, you know, he'll have a good time. But anyway, long story short, Gary, you're not a story gamer. We just like making fun of you because it's fun.
No,
it's part of the shtick. It's part of the shtick.
No, I get it. I understand, but I still don't think I play story. By Chubby's definition, it's not a story game.
Well, hang your hat on that. I don't give a shit. Like, whatever.
Have you read Apocalypse World? Played it?
I
haven't played it. I've read Dungeon World,
but I do own the Burning Wheel.
But and I don't do shit like that. I've never played it. I read it.
World, I've played it many times, but I use it as an example of writing in a way that people can't understand, because the writing in the book is so obtuse in certain things that you almost have to like go watch a video where somebody explains to you how to actually read the book. Like, like there's things in the book that just they're written. It's not even like pretentious. It's just written. It's written by somebody who is not good at explaining things.
Yes.
And what I wanted to say when you were talking earlier, Matt, was that a lot of us bring to this whatever it is in our personal life. Like you and Macrease both come from legal backgrounds. I come from a education background, training background, and so when I read stuff, my first response to almost everything when I sit down and I open up the file and I'm like, could I make a dungeon design video about this? Like the first 900 thoughts are about how horribly it is organized to teach somebody how to do it. And that I've been going through this over and over again. Like people just don't know how to write in a way that explains it in a clear way to the person that's trying to pick it up. And, you know, several people have mentioned in the chat tonight that I need to get on a live stream with Joe the Lawyer and hack it out about Phandelver. And our biggest disagreement, I think, is that Joe doesn't train people to do anything in his normal life. He doesn't have like a person that he's trying to teach how to do a particular task at his job.
He's advocating a position.
So his position is like, you should just throw them in the pool, and if they swim, they swim, and if they drown, they drown. And I'm going, how do we make this swim class so that we can teach people how to swim? So we're just approaching it from two different directions. It doesn't make sense. But there are so many people in this hobby who approach it from that direction that when I just point out, hey, if you just change these three things, it would be much easier to teach to a new person. People are like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm like, this is the most obvious shit to me. Like, I so often I think of like that. I love that scene in Good Will Hunting where he just lights the math thing on fire and he's like, this is nothing. Like,
Yeah.
this is effortless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
like,
I hear you.
yeah.
Yep.
There's things that to me, it just is so obvious. And I'm like, how are you people not seeing that
Yeah.
this is how you should describe it?
I think a lot of people are, they're wedded to the way that they've been doing things, number one. Then you add like YouTube revenue and clout chasing and like this like personality bullshit. So and I think that just kind of like embeds that. Like, so no, but I hear you, man. Like I 100% hear you. And that's one of the reasons why I freaking love what you've been doing with your channel and the dungeon analysis and whatnot.
I was actually gonna. I have a question, Joey. Do you see all role playing games, like when you think about role playing games in general, right? Like all the kind of games that could be on the shelf. Do you see all of them through the lens of like it started at D&D and everything is?
No, for me, the thing is, I'm hyper obsessed with praxis, what you're actually implementing at the table.
Mhm.
And one of the things, like I've hung out with Eric Tenkar and Rob Conley and Joe the Lawyer for a long time, and I would ask them questions like, well, how do you say you want this particular thing? How do you design the object to get that result? Right.
Right.
And most of the time people can't tell you. It's not because they're dumb. They just don't think in that way. And I'm like, if you want this effect at the table, what is necessary to create that effect? Right. So like the Alien Destroyer of Worlds module is a great example. So if you want the people to feel a particular way, you can introduce events that are super surprising to them in a particular way, and it will have an impact on the table, right? But if you do that too much, then they feel like they're not in control of anything. So there's this balance of like, I'm going to throw in a thing and then I'm going to let it get resolved and then I'm going to wait, and when I sense a lull, I'm going to throw it in another thing. But if you just keep chucking in all this shit constantly, it fucks it up. So there's like a rhythm to it, almost like music here. Like you can't have 400 A notes in a row. Like you have to there's a praxis, there's a way of doing it. And
but I will
focus on that enough.
Well, and I'll say this. When you're playing a rules like game, right? Like I think Easy D6 is a great game for people who want to role play. You really got to be careful of that, because one of the things in the row campaign that happened with me was that I had players who were kind of indecisive. And that indecisiveness made me think I need to make something happen. Right? Like they're just standing around not doing shit. So I need to do something with the world. And that was the biggest mistake I made, because as soon as I backed off and gave them an extra 45 seconds to think, right? Who cares if they're silent for 2 or 3 minutes? As soon as I backed off and gave them a minute, the game bloomed. Yeah, I think it was better. So I agree with you. You can't just throw things at them. And I don't think you can write down how to do that. It's like, you mentioned music, it's like improv.
It's just
hard. I don't know if you can.
Well, Gary Chubby, like I think, because I want to I don't want to telegraph too much here, but I think Chubby, you want to like have something like in place where the game master is able to do something. But I think Gary, like I think you're actually right here, and this is where it becomes more of an artistry and less of mathematics and science. And this is where I bulk at like hardcore crunchy games. Like those are just not the games I want to run. I want to have the freedom as a game master to be able to say this is what happens. I don't want to have to consult a chart every single fucking 5 minutes of the game or
I
whatever.
want to play Acts 2. I want to run ECD6.
Yeah, right. Like exactly. Like I appreciate, and this is why I say like Acts 2 is my reference. Like
I want
if
to play
someone
the
has
shit out of that game.
if I'm running Lamentations of the Flame Princess, which is what I love to play, but someone wants to do something, they're like, "Hey, can I do this?" I go, "Hold on a second," and then I reach for Adventure Conquer King System as my like encyclopedia, and I look, and I'm like, "Yeah, we'll do this. This is how we're gonna handle it." But
It's
will I
funny.
actually run this game? No.
Well, let me give you an example. So this is
want to play it.
I've already kind of written the way that I make a video is I write the script, I do animations, and then I record the audio last, because if I change anything, that's the biggest pain in the ass to change is the audio, right? So this is going to be in the part 2 of my Curse of Strahd video. I wrote it today on Halloween, as you should work on Curse of Strahd on Halloween. Yeah, thank you, my ear trumpet.
Thank you, my ear trumpet.
Yes, but so in Curse
Gary,
of
that was your chance.
Yeah, one of the biggest problems that they have is that they give this huge info dump to the GM in chapter 2, and it's all this stuff about how the world works, how the mist works, how the sun works, how the people work, how the souls work, how this is all this shit, and the GM is supposed to just kind of, I guess, memorize that. And then when they go to run the game, when they see opportunities, they're supposed to kind of like throw out some of that information, right? So for instance, there's some people that have souls, and there's some people who don't have souls, because there's a limited number that are cycling through the game world. It's just part of the setting. So they tell that to the GM, and then the GM is just supposed to occasionally have you run into people that are like that are just kind of humorless, emotionless people that are fumbling along and they don't have souls, right?
Right.
But they also included in the game this huge tarot deck that they use for one specific thing, and otherwise it's totally wasted, right? So I said, okay, let's turn these cards into basically random tables. You got 14 cards in this this deck. You're going to use that as a D14 or whatever, right? So you come up with things. So I said, well, what about every time you run into somebody, you pull a card from the deck, and that tells you about the personality of the person. Then the GM isn't having to remember all the little things. They just pull the card and they go, okay, this is the guy who has this thing, and that will let me tell you this one piece of the information about this setting through this one guy. Then you meet another guy, and he pulls another card, and he says, okay, this guy tells you this other thing about the world, right? So now the GM isn't having to constantly hold all that information in their head and know when to deploy it. They're able to just use the cards to give them a reminder, and then they can speak on that particular topic. That's much easier for a person to manage moment to moment. That's a praxis. That's a praxis implementation.
No, that's actually a good point, and a great use of the tarot card, because from like an RP perspective, right? The player's like, okay, I'm talking to this NPC. What does he tell me? And the game master pulls a card.
Yeah, like
that's actually really good, man. That's really good.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, there are practical solutions that you can implement. And in a lot of my videos, the comments are like, wow, this one thing would really change a whole bunch of things if I did it this one particular way. It's like, yeah. It's a
well. This goes.
I don't think I'm some genius. Like, it just appeals. I just see it.
Yeah. No. Well, this goes back to like why Gary and I started talking to begin with. Like, game mastery is not necessarily an easy thing to do. Number one. Number two, it's not like you can go to get a fucking class on this shit. Like, you just got to talk to people and just like listen to them. Like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
oh, that's a good idea. Or, oh, well, that might not work for me, but it sparks an idea that might work for me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So yeah,
And
but
I watch a lot of live plays, not because they're interesting. I'll throw that out. Not because they're like great entertainment. I watch them for the same reason. When I saw you at North Texas, I was like, I'm here to learn. I'm here to play
yeah.
in Greg Gillespie's game and learn as much as I can about Greg Gillespie and how he plays the game. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to play with Nick. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to play with Matt. And I'm going to learn from these guys, right? But I'll be watching a live play and my son will like be sitting there and he'll be like, man, that guy sucks. You know, like there's just praxis matters.
Yeah.
Having
Yeah.
skill matters.
Yeah, no. Game
Yeah.
mastery is not some ivory tower bullshit that like a lot of these other YouTubers, the big heads, the talking heads, whatever, are gonna fucking throw at you. No, it's something that you do. You're
But
not gonna be a good game master unless you fucking run games and talk to other game masters and learn from them.
And
So, yeah.
and real quick, I want to say something. When you're learning to do something that is on the creative or like performative side, regardless of how hardcore your game is, there's a bit of when you're telling the players and describing something. There's something to that. Um, there's something you can learn from everybody you play with or everybody that you watch run a game, right? Like Chubby's gonna have different riffs than I'm gonna have. But if I pay attention, I can steal all of his riffs. Same thing with Matt. It's not a science. It
Yeah.
really isn't. Because here's the thing, Chubby. You would have if I ran Acts 2 rules as written, you would have less fun playing with me than if we played Star Wars Face Rip Easy D6. Right? Like I might be the wrong person to run Acts 2, even if we consider that like the game, right?
Yeah.
I just think
Michael
it's
Jordan
different.
couldn't play baseball either. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And we talk about and I always say this, but when we talk about role-playing games, we all talk, we talk about it like donuts, like there's only one kind of fucking donut,
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of different things. In general, I think, Chubby, I do think we agree on this. I don't want in my games, even when they're heavy with character, maybe I shouldn't say story, maybe I should say character. Even when they're heavy with character, I don't want to be the guy making arbitrary rulings because of the effort that somebody put in to impress me. You know what I mean? I
would agree with that.
there. I want a mechanic
Yeah.
there. But I also like
frequently
the
apologize
mystery
to
and
the
stuff.
player when I'm screwing them over because I'm like, hey, I think that thing that you did was really cool, but I gotta do this. This goblin's killing you. You
gotta
Sorry.
roll those fucking dice because
Yeah.
no matter, and that's where I think things go wrong when people talk about story games and everything else. Here's where these story games go wrong. When the dice don't matter anymore, when the game aspect of it doesn't, when you start ignoring that and rule of fucking cool, I know the rule says this, but what a great idea. That's when it's bullshit. That I don't, as a game master, I don't decide whether you succeed or fail. The dice do.
Yeah. One of my comments before you had me join the stream was we should have died in that Walking Dead game. I think we should have all died in that.
The dice said we won though, and that's the thing.
But only because he let us keep rolling. I think we should.
No, but that's the rules of the game.
We rolled the last time.
This could be an entirely separate
I gotta
stream.
go to bed.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to wrap this up. Respectfully, I disagree with that. Because per the rules of the game, we said what we wanted to do. We got the successes. We got to narrate it. Where we failed was we really didn't collaborate and how that worked out. And if you recall, if you go back, I was the
It's
first one to
Chubby's
roll.
fault.
I was the first one to roll a bunch of successes on how to escape, and I set up everybody. Not a single player took that. They all did their own thing, like they were playing an OSR game, and that's when it.
Me, bro.
Well, it's a collaborative experience.
Well, and it's
anyway,
also,
but anyway, I'm not trying to harp a
know.
point. I'm not trying to. I'm just saying, like that's like really highlighted to me the difference between an OSR game, story game, and how those players approach it. But we could easily keep talking for
Chubby, I
another
could
hour.
talk to you till breakfast.
Yeah, Chubby, thanks for jumping on last minute. Thanks to the chat for being awesome. For the couple of you that sent me pictures of your fucking Halloween costumes, I'm gonna send you something. I'll be in touch before the end of the weekend. Not tonight because well, frankly, I'm drunk.
My dog prefers story games. If you could send him.
Oh, really? I was gonna send him some milk bones. But I'll send him the burning wheel to chew on.
Your dog looks like he really cares about immersion when playing and tabletop role playing.
Is this from Black Hat or Evil Hat? You know, but yeah, it's been
I'll
a great
shit on Fate a little bit, dude.
Yeah, I know.
I will.
But it's been great. I hope everyone had a great Halloween. We're entering into the Halloween season, or excuse me, the holiday season. We got some great guests lined up for the next couple of weeks. Next week we got Ben Gibson returns.
Nice.
All right.
We got the freaking his whole adventure thing that he does with Cold Light Press. That it's like what you write 2 pages with like a map, adventure contest. And then the week after that, we got Travis Faber. That's because he's got a Kickstarter coming up. So I hope to see everyone in the next couple of weeks.
Talking about that thing that he did. He wrote a module for Barrow Maze or something, right?
It's a jousting tournament.
Oh, I've seen him talk about it.
I'm the motherfucking champion, bro.
You cheated.
I did not cheat.
You cheated.
How the fuck did I
convinced.
cheat?
I'm convinced.
No.
Anyway,
he was running it. He was testing it at North Texas, and
he was.
I have a fucking email with a certificate I can print off.
Oh,
I am the champion right now.
Okay, Gary will not be with us on that stream.
What are you talking about? I've got to defend my championship. I was told flat out, I am the person to beat. Matt.
Anyway, we got guests coming. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us. It was a fun stream. Chubby, thanks for jumping in last minute, and I hope everyone has a wonderful Halloween and have a great weekend. And with that, as you know, our watch has ended. Take care, everyone. You want me to turn this down? Is it too loud?
This part is fine.
Goddamn, dude, it's the beginning. It's so bad. It's so fucking bad.
No, it's punk rock.
It's punk rock. My kids complain, bro.
It's punk rock.